Okay, welcome families and parents and community. My name is Lindsay Brogan. I am the school social worker here at East West School of International Studies. I am joined today with Linda Sakin. She is our school mental health manager from the Department of Health. She and I have done a few parent and family workshops on a variety of topics. And today we are recording our workshop on attendance and the importance that attendance plays in our students' overall health, including mental health and well-being. The recording will be posted on YouTube, which is probably where you are viewing it now, which gives everyone the opportunity to utilize the closed captioning function so that you can change the closed captioning language to whichever language you prefer. We will likely host a live workshop with this recording so that way parents can join and ask questions and connect with one another as well. And at the end of the video, I will share our contact information as well. So welcome. I'm going to mute and let Linda take over. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you for joining us to talk about some important information that parents need to know about attendance, and also how coming to school on a regular basis not only helps your children to do well in school, but also supports their emotional wellness. During this presentation, we're going to talk about how many absences may cause your child to fall behind in school, what excused absences are, and how they count on your child's record, how a pattern of being late can negatively impact your child's education. And we'll look at some possible reasons why children have many absences. And we'll give some tips for how you can support your child to have consistent attendance. Next slide. So when your child comes to school every day, it helps them to do well academically, to stay physically and emotionally healthy. And coming to school regularly also creates a healthy routine for your child and teaches them important life skills, such as how to be responsible and independent, skills they'll need for their future education and career life. Next slide. Let's talk about how coming to school every day helps your child to be physically healthy. So children definitely get a lot of exercise when they are in school, walking through the halls to their classes and going up and down the stairs. They also get exercise in their gym classes. Also in their health classes, they learn about ways to live a healthier lifestyle, like eating nutritious foods and getting enough sleep. They also learn about dangerous things to avoid, like drugs and alcohol, to keep their bodies healthy. And a nutritious breakfast and lunch is provided every day in school. And then some of your children may keep physically active by attending an after-school program or a club. Next slide. So being in school also supports your child's healthy social emotional development. In addition to academic learning, children are learning and practicing so many important life skills that will help them to be successful into their adulthood. Skills like listening to others, following directions, developing critical thinking skills, which is important to help them to become good problem solvers. They're also practicing conversational skills and learning how to control their emotions. Next slide. Other skills they're developing are empathy skills, being able to understand how others are feeling. Also to work cooperatively with their peers, such as when they work on group projects. We know that being a team player is so important, right? When they're going to get a job one day. In school, our children are also learning how to focus on their work and tune out distractions. They also learn how to self-advocate for themselves and to ask for help, which is so important for them to be able to do inside and outside of school. And also to act responsibly, learning to manage their time to do their classwork and homework and making sure they have what they need every day for school. In school, your children are also around positive role models, which they find in their teachers and other adults, and also in other students who go to school regularly and work hard to achieve academically. Lastly, schools offer structure and routines, which is very important for you to have on a daily basis. When children know what to expect, it helps them to feel safe and secure. When children come to school every day, they get into a rhythm of going to their classes, doing their schoolwork, and socializing with their peers and making all these connections. This helps them to gain confidence in their abilities to do their work and also to work through challenges. However, when children miss a lot of days of school, they miss out on that structure and routine, and this can cause them to feel anxious and stressed. They can feel less secure and lose confidence in their ability to do well in school. They also may feel a loss of connection with their peers and teachers and just feel lost and disconnected from school life. It's also important for children to have structure and routines at home, which Ms. Rogan will speak more about in a little bit. And these are only some of the many important life skills that children learn and practice every day in school. Next slide. So I like to use this visual of a train to show how absences can impact your child's school performance. So here we see the arrow is pointing to the first car. On the first day, your child and their classmates all start out together in that first car. And next slide. But if your child starts to have some absences, your child may start to fall behind while the other students keep moving ahead as they continue learning. The train keeps going and the students are progressing with their learning while your child is missing out on learning and getting further and further behind. And next slide. And if your child misses too many days, which means a lot of missed class time, your child may have a hard time making up the work. And next slide. And missing too many days may cause your child to be at risk for falling off the track, literally the academic track, where your child may have fallen too far behind to catch up and may not be promoted. So let's keep talking about ways that parents can help to keep their children on track. And next slide. Something parents need to be aware of is that excused absences count toward your child's absence record. So of course, if your child is ill, you need to keep your child home, or if some family emergency comes up. But sometimes children miss school days for doctor or dental appointments. And even though the parent sends a note in and their excused absences, this is still learning time that is missed, and they do count on your child's record. So these appointments, when possible, should be scheduled outside of school hours, so your child doesn't miss valuable learning time. This also goes for vacations. Sometimes students miss many days of school because the family goes on vacation. So family vacations should also be scheduled when school is off during scheduled holidays. And if your child is out, always communicate with the school that you are aware of your child's absence, so it can be coded correctly. Next slide. This chart shows how your child's school performance can be affected by the number of absences they have. So here in green, we see that good attendance is having 9 absences or less. So that's 1 or less absence per month. We see here it says ready for success. So having this number of absences shouldn't negatively impact your child's school performance. When your child is in the 10 to 17 range of absences, which is about 1 to 2 absences a month, shown here in orange, your child is said to be at risk. Here we see it says school gets harder, because now they're starting to miss too much class time, and it could become harder for them to make up the work and keep up with the learning. And we see here in red that if your child has 18 or more absences, which is 2 or more absences a month, your child is said to be chronically absent, and it says could fall behind. Next slide. So here's a chart just showing you what the 9 days or less looks like. So that's 1 or less absence a month. And next slide. And here is what the at risk, the 10 to 17 days. You could see it's 1 or 2 absences per month. In May, there's 3 absences, and you could see they start to build up. And next slide. And here you see what 2 absences a month can look like or more. And next slide. And if your child misses that many absences, at least 2 days a month, that's actually equal to a whole month of missed school, which is why it's so difficult for your child to catch up and at risk for not being promoted to the next grade. And I want to point out that these absences also include excused absences. As I mentioned before, excused absences are counted in your child's record, and they are days where your child missed learning. So too many of these absences can cause your child to fall behind. So we really want to make sure our children stay on track in school by addressing any attendance issues we are seeing as early as we can. And now I'm going to turn the presentation over to Ms. Rogan to talk about how absences and being late can negatively impact your child's education, and also how parents can help their children to have good attendance.
Great, thank you, Linda. Those visuals, I think, are so crucial to helping us literally see our students and our children's absences so that you can help keep track. A little bit later on, I have a link to a calendar from a few years ago, but you can use it for whichever academic year you're in to help you really keep track, because it'll really help give you and your child a visual. So you really want to pay attention to absences, because the research shows that students with good attendance versus students with chronic absences, there's a real difference in their grades, in their test scores, in their reading and math skills, in their graduation rates, and in their dropout rates. So the research is actually pretty clear that students with chronic absences have lower scores and grades and skills. So this is something that is important to start from the very beginning of the school year to instill good attendance in your child. And even if your attendance wasn't that great in years past, September is always a great time for a fresh start and to start off with a great attendance record. So being on time is really important as well as attendance, because when students are late, it can really increase their stress. It can make them feel confused and feel unprepared when they do get to class. When they miss learning and instruction time, it adds to their confusion, and that all adds to maybe getting lower scores and lower grades. It can also impact them physically. Sometimes with students who are late and get stressed out, they might be going to the nurse with complaints of headaches or stomach aches. These are all different ways that students kind of manifest the stress in their body. So you really want to instill being on time for your students. And if that means that you have to work on being on time to help your student be on time, you can make it a family goal. So just be honest with yourself to think about what kinds of time management skills do I have and what am I passing on to my child? And maybe where can we all improve? Because a lot of times our students pick up on those things from us. Sometimes they don't, but sometimes they do. So if it needs to be a family goal, you can make it a family goal as well. There was one example I'll just share of a student that came in late and was so anxious to walk into a classroom late because they were worried that as soon as they opened the door, all of the heads were going to turn to that person. And having that many eyes made that student really stressed out, really anxious. And they were only about 5 or 10 minutes late, but they decided to miss the whole class period because they didn't want to walk in late. So that is just one example of how being late, even if it's 5 minutes, can really impact a student negatively for even longer. So I just shared that example to really kind of make sure you realize every minute counts, and being early is great. Being on time is great, but being late, it can really have a negative impact on our students' emotional and social and academic. So for our 7th graders, this is just a really important year to keep on your minds, as this is the year that high schools look at your attendance and your latenesses. That can really impact their acceptance to high school. It's part of that bigger puzzle, one piece of it, obviously, but just something to keep in mind that 7th grade is a really important year for a lot of things, including your attendance and lateness. So if your child is missing school, we need to be curious. We need to start asking some questions, and we need to do it in a non-judgmental way. And we need to do it in a time that isn't a high stress time, but we really need to stop and ask ourselves questions, ask our child questions. What's going on? Are we missing school because we're struggling with the schoolwork? Is it academically too challenging, too vigorous? Are we being bullied? Is someone being mean to us at school? Are we struggling emotionally with anxiety, depression, or some other mental health challenge? Has there been a recent change in our child's behavior or their emotions? Maybe something's changed with your child's friend group. Maybe there's been some kind of negative influence, or maybe there's something that's embarrassing our child. We really need to take a critical eye when you notice that your child is missing school or being late, because there might be a really clear reason as to what's going on. And we just want to dig a little bit in a really non-judgmental and a really kind and compassionate way to figure out what's going on so that we can all be problem solvers. So some tips for our parents. Talk to your child. Like I was saying, talk to them in the quieter moments though. When it's, 7:50 and your child's supposed to be at school at 8:03 and everyone's yelling at each other in the morning, that is not a great time to kind of have a heart-to-heart with our child, right? You want to do it when everyone's in a cool, calm, and collected moment, when you can really calm yourself down first and hopefully talk to your child who's in a calm state and really find out what is going on. And it's a good time in those calmer moments to really let your child know how important it is to you that they are at school every day and on time every day. Because you want your child to first hear what you are saying, and then you can kind of ask some more questions about what's going on. As the parent, though, you really want to set up good, solid routines about regular bedtime and a morning routine. And that's going to be different depending on which developmental stage your child is in. But if you need to help your child set up their outfit for the next day, the night before, maybe you want to think through breakfast the night before. Maybe there needs to be a routine about how many alarms we set, because we know that the kids need multiple wake-up calls. But set up some really good routines and stick to them. And again, the parent has to stick to them just like the child has to stick to them. You want to be partners with your child in setting up these routines. Give them a choice. Would you rather me come in at this time in the morning and turn on the lights and open the shades, or would you rather you do that? Give your child a lot of choice in setting up the routines and what's going to work for them, because it'll lead to more success. Like Linda said, excused absences are absences. So as the parent, you really want to try to schedule your doctor's appointments after school or on those random holidays that the DOE has that doctors are open. I know vacations are sometimes more affordable to go during school days versus when everybody's going off on vacation, but you really want to be mindful that scheduling vacations during school hours can have a negative impact, as we said, on their academics, on their social and their emotional well-being. So please be mindful of that. Set up some goals. The goals should be attainable. So you don't want to set up a goal for the whole year, because in September, the idea of getting to your goal in June seems really far away. So you want to make the goals shorter. We recommend maybe looking at 1 month at a time, but you and your child know each other best. So if you need to do it every week, or if you can spread it out for every marking period, which is about 6 weeks, that's fine too. But play around with when you're going to set up your goals and celebrate them, and for example, if somebody was absent 4 times last month and now they're only absent 3 times, that's something to celebrate. We don't want to expect a 180 because that might be unrealistic for you and your child, but you do want to celebrate even incremental improvements. Obviously, if your child has any medications, like things for asthma, you want to submit all the forms and give it to the school nurse. So that way, if there's anything physical going on with your child that we know about it, the child shouldn't have to, be running late to take a medications. Usually the nurse can give medications here at school. Please contact the school, contact myself, contact a guidance counselor. We have a whole attendance team. If someone's struggling with attendance, loop us in. We might be able to help. And even just partnering with us is going to make a big difference. This is an example to that attendance tracker that I mentioned. It goes, I think it's 2020, but it gives you a great example of something you could print out, use to track attendances and latencies, or you can use your phone. There's a few things you can use. Here are some resources, some links to some articles about other things that might be going on with regards to attendance and latenesses. Anxiety plays a huge role in children missing school. So the research shows that if a student is trying to avoid something negative, whether it's a social situation or an academic situation, they're nervous to make a presentation in class, for example. If they get a stomach ache and say, I'm too sick to go to school, and then they stay home, it teaches them that they can avoid something and it actually feels good to then avoid it. But the problem is that when that comes up again, they're going to learn from what they did last time and continue to do it again. And it's going to create a pattern for them. And it's not going to teach them how to build resiliency against their fears and overcome their fears. So that's why it's so important to know exactly why your child is missing school. Again, they're sick. We want them to stay home. We don't want to affect other students. But if they're missing school for something emotional or something social, we need to tease that out and figure out what is really going on so that we can support your student, we can support you in supporting your student, and we can help them face that fear or whatever it might be. But this first article is a great article about, is your child missing school due to anxiety? So if you think that that might be something that's going on, I encourage you to check out that article. The Children's Health Fund, where we got a lot of our information for this presentation, has some great tips as well. I have some personal parenting blogs and podcasts that I really enjoy. Some of it is free, some of it there is a charge for if you do some of the more advanced courses. But the blogs and the podcasts are all free. And these are 2 free articles and podcasts about adjusting to middle school, which is huge. I mean, adjusting to high school is huge too. Any kind of transition between elementary, middle and high school are big adjustments for our children. So don't take that lightly. If there's any way to help adjust your child before the start of the school year, taking a tour of a new school, meeting staff, going to any orientations, either in the spring or in the fall, really try to do that with your child. It'll help ease in those transitions. There's also a service through New York City called the Family Assessment Program that anyone can make a referral to, anyone from school, or even a parent can pick up the phone or make a referral to online. And those are for families who are really struggling with attendance and with truancy issues. So they provide in-home services and even in-home counseling for the student and for the family. It's a really great service to be aware of if things are really starting to kind of unravel. And of course, you've got resources at school. So you've got myself. We have 2 fantastic guidance counselors. We have Ms. Foreman and Ms. Park for middle school and high school. We are here to help. So if you're concerned or if you're starting to notice a behavior or a pattern, please loop us in. Even if you want to contact a teacher first, whoever you feel comfortable going to, just please reach out for help. We don't want you to feel like you are alone in tackling this problem. We know that you are the expert in your child, and we are here to support you as best we can. And we really want to brainstorm and figure out what's going on, because it's never too late to turn that train around. It's never too late to hop on that train and to catch up. So please reach out if you need support. These are just some questions to kind of get you thinking. We are planning on hosting this workshop live, so to generate some conversation amongst parents. If you're watching this at home, though, these are just some questions to kind of get you thinking a little bit. What makes it hard to get your child to school every day? What helps you get your child to school even on the hard days? So these are just some things to think about, to generate some conversation, even if it's conversation between you and your child at home, or you and your partner at home, or whoever is helping support you. Okay. So that concludes our workshop. Again, I'm gonna, maybe if I can go back to our contact information, reach out. This is obviously going to be recorded and will be posted so that you can watch it, and you can watch it in any language you want. If you have another caretaker at home who helps you out in the mornings to help get your child ready for school or out the door, and they speak another language, please have them watch as well. You can use the closed captioning, and then you can select the different language that you want for auto translate. Thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate it. And feel free to reach out if you need anything. Thank you.